Good evening, Daniela. How are you? Hi, Daniela. How are you tonight?
Hello. How are you doing, Brother Robertson?
I'm good. What's up?
Oh, I have questions, but I'm not super ahead on the homework and stuff.
All
I'm barely finishing the activities, but I have a few questions.
all right. Shoot.
Okay. So, my first question is with the first activity. Um, I'm not sure if I understand very well what is it called? The node something? No validate?
Bookmarklet?
Yeah. So I was able to add that to my bookmark bar, yeah, whatever that is. I was able to add it there, but I don't know if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing uh, in my web page.
Well, the easy answer to that is when you build a form,
Mm-hmm.
if you put the required attribute into the various inputs and you click the submit button, if you haven't filled out the form, the browser should not submit the form. It should pop up an error message and tell you you've got to fill out this field.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you reach up and you click on the no validate tool and submit the form, now it will send it to the server and let your PHP error correction figure out if it's been done correct and then send back the PHP error message if it's not.
Okay.
That's all it does. It just turns off the browser-based tools so that the form data can be sent to the server.
Oh, I see. So I was able to see that pop-up message. It's kind of orange, right? I was able to see that on my registration form, but I was not able to see that on my login view.
And did you put the required attributes into the login form?
I did. Let me double check. But I believe I did. Yeah. So I have that required for both my email address and the password.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that, but it doesn't. It does show for the password, but not for the email address.
Why don't you share your screen and show me your code?
Okay. Okay. So this is my. There we go. This is my logging view, and
All
I
right.
added the required placeholder for the email address and the required attribute. And for the password, I added the required pattern and
Well, required and pattern are two separate things.
oh, really?
Yeah. Okay,
Oh.
but here's the problem. Notice in both of these you have a value attribute.
Yes.
Take it out. That's what's causing your problem.
What does that value do?
Well, it basically says I've programmed a value for these. And in this case, the pre-programmed value is nothing, but the fact that it's there is going to cause you issues.
Okay.
Now, also, I notice on line 28, you have 2 requireds. You only need one, so you can take one of them out.
Okay.
And do you have the same thing on line 31?
I took that out just now. I had a required at the end of this line.
All right. So here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Are your servers running?
I'll do that right now. Okay, they are.
Okay, now I noticed on your form, again, we've got a problem here.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, views always talk to controllers.
Yes.
They never talk to anything else.
Right.
So on line 25, you're telling this form to send something to action page. What is action page?
I have no idea.
Okay, so what this really should be doing is it should be pointing to the index page in your accounts folder.
Yes.
So let's change that path to do that.
And should it be like a direct path, like Acme and?
I would, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so that's correct. Now, the other thing that's going to happen here is when it arrives at the controller, there has to be some sort of a value that the controller watches for that says, oh, someone wants to log in.
Is that the required ones?
No, this is in your switch statement, right? The switch statement is our logic.
Right.
And so there has to be a case statement inside of the switch that says, oh, wait a second, someone's trying to log in. Let me handle that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have something of that nature in here?
I do. Here's my switch.
Okay, so you'll notice line 57 is the one that delivers the login view.
Right.
Line 60 is the one that delivers the registration view.
Uh-huh.
Line 63 is the one that handles the registration attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going down. And I see nothing that's going to handle the actual login attempt. So you need another case statement in here.
So I thought that since it's sending it to the login.
That's just delivering the view so they can fill out the form.
Oh.
That's not actually processing anything.
So I would need.
No, not here. Not here. Notice you're inside of the previous case statement. At least I think you are. Click on line 52 or whatever that is.
52.
No. See line 63?
Yes.
Click the minus sign. Okay. So you want this next case statement to go ahead and hit enter. And one more time. And this is where you want the next case statement to be.
Okay. Now, this is the name pair value.
Correct.
So I need to add.
Go ahead and do it here. And then you can go in and add it to your form.
Okay.
So decide what it's going to be.
Login.
Nope. Well, I guess, yeah, it could be login. That's fine because line 57 is different. And as long as they're different, we're good.
Okay.
And then hit enter a couple of times. Yep, perfect. There you go. Okay. So now go back to your form and add your name value pair.
There, right?
No, not here. Make it a hidden input.
Oh. So it's an input?
Yep.
What? I've been doing this wrong this whole time.
Okay, and type is hidden.
Oh.
But we don't want the user to see this. There you go. Now, value is login, and name is what?
Login.
Nope, that's its value. What's its name? What is the case statement looking for? What's it evaluating? Go back to the control.
Oh, the client email.
No. Go back to your login form, or go back to your controller. Look at line 56. What's it evaluating?
The action.
Action. And where is action getting its value from?
From
Nope, you went too far. It's right there.
For the input?
Well, it's getting it from something called action. Notice at the end of line 52 and at the end of line 54?
Mm-hmm.
That's the name in the name value pair.
Okay.
So back in your form, that has to be the name.
So here we created a variable, and then what this is doing, so we're creating a variable, and then we're filtering the input. The input post is what they write, and it has a name of action.
Yep. And whatever its value is what gets stored in the action variable.
Whatever it's fine. Okay.
So let's pretend that it's not action. Let's pretend that it's first name.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just asked you, what's your first name?
Mm-hmm.
And you would answer?
Daniela.
But make it a full sentence.
My name is Daniela.
My
first name.
There you go. My first name is Daniela. And so that's exactly what this is doing. It's listening for your response, and your response is, well, my action is login, or my action is my account, or my action is registration. And so it's listening to see what the value of action is, and if it finds it, it stores it into the variable over there on the left.
Okay.
And so back in your form, you have to send action is something, which means the name has to be action. And then the value is login. My action is login.
Okay.
So it's collected, and then it gets stored in the action variable, which then gets evaluated, and those case statements keep asking, hey, is your value this, or is your value this, or is your value this? And when it finds one that it matches, it then does whatever the code says it should do.
Which would be it displays that view.
Well, in this case, we want it to process the login.
Yes.
Right?
Now,
we're sending a username and a password.
Now, I'm a little bit confused. I know we did this 2 weeks ago, and I thought I understood it, but it seems like I don't completely understand it. We have this input submit, but in my accounts controller, I have no input submit, like no case submit.
You don't need one. All that submit button does is tells the browser, send the information. That's all it does. It's a trigger on a gun. It shoots the gun.
Okay.
That's why we had to add the hidden input, because that's the one that your controller is going to use.
That's the one my controller is going to use. What do you mean?
Well, again, action equals login, right?
Mm-hmm.
Name is action, value is login. So it arrives at the controller. Go ahead and switch to your controller. And on line 52, it looks in the post and it says, hey, is there an action name in there? And the answer in this case is yes, because in your form you said the method was post. And so it collects it. And what is now stored online in the variable on line 52?
Sorry, my Alexa just went on. What was the last thing?
What did you just store into the variable on line 52? What's the
action.
value of it?
Action.
Nope. Action is the name. What's its value?
Oh, login.
Login. Perfect. So now it goes down to line 56 and it says, okay, your value is login. And then it goes to line 57 and it says, does login equal my account? Nope. Goes to line 60. Does login equal registration? Nope. Does it goes to line 63? Does login equal register? Nope. It goes to line 93. Is login equal to login? Yep, it is. All right, now I'm going to do this process.
Oh, okay.
Whatever you write there.
Right. But here I wouldn't put include view login.php.
No, because now you're processing it.
Right.
Now you got to start collecting data and figuring out if it's the right type of data and going on. And just, you know, all of this is covered in the activities. Which means you need to get started real quick because today's Thursday night.
I started and I'm on activity number 3. I'm finishing activity number 3, so I just have one left.
Okay.
And so I did start like with the functions, and I understood that these 2 functions are going to check my email to make sure that it's valid, and then it's going to check my password. And we use this, one of the readings mentioned like it's not sanitizing, but it's kind of like, the something statements, regular statements.
Regular expressions.
Regular expressions, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to take some time to understand how exactly the syntax of these regular expressions.
It's an acquired language taste. I don't expect you to master them in this class.
Okay.
We're using them, and I've given you some references that you can go out and look at to get some more information. But yeah, we're not going to learn how to write them in detail.
Okay. Okay, then my login and registration should work then as normal. Because, yeah, that was one of the questions I had. But maybe Janae has questions about something else.
Janae, did you have some questions? Daniela has kind of yielded the floor to you. If you do.
Yeah, I do. Mine's about the last part of the enhancement the creating a function to build the nav.
All right. Daniela, can I get you to stop sharing your screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Janae, go ahead and what in particular?
In particular, I am a little confused on how to, or where I'm getting the parameter. Well, I know what it is, but I feel like I'm not capturing it correctly. And then, well, yeah, initially that's the first question, I guess.
Okay, so let's start by going back to any one of your controllers that you currently have.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you share your screen, and that way we can look at your code.
Okay. All right, I can go to my controller. And I kind of figured what I would do would be to, well, first, well, I would have to connect to the Acme model and then make the, or call this function and do this line of code right here to get the correct variable to
Very
send.
good.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
I was.
You're absolutely right, but we have to make a minor change to this. So let's go look at the Acme model where the get categories function resides.
Okay.
Okay, now notice you've already made the change. Perfect. You're no longer just asking for the name, but you're also asking for the ID.
Mm-hmm.
That is just perfect. Great.
Okay.
All right. So now let's go back to your controller. And what that means is on line 18, your categories variable has the name and the ID of every category that exists in your categories table.
Right.
All right. Now, just looking down below at the current function that you have for building your navigation list.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that for every one of the items in your categories, again, I'm looking at lines 24, 25, and 26. You are building the list item, you're building the link, you've got the action, which is using the category's name, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to move this screen on my machine simply because I can't really see the rest of things because of the way my screen is set up. Okay, so action is category name, but what we really need to be doing is making a change so that the action also passes the category ID. That's going to become important for us.
Why?
Well, okay, I've misspoken at this point in the semester. I'm gonna retract that statement for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. So for right now, we'll just leave it as it is.
All right.
But the point here is we don't want this code, meaning lines 21 through 27, in the controller anymore.
Okay.
Because it means that we're replicating this code in every controller, which is just kind of wasteful. So what we want to do is we want to take these lines of code, cut them out, and move them into our functions page in our library, right? Okay. So do you have a functions page?
I do. Let me just at least grab this and go over here.
Oh, look at that. Lines 26, 27, blah, blah, blah. No,
Yeah.
don't do that here. Don't do that here.
Oh.
We're going to
Don't-
leave it in the controller.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead and comment out line 7 and 8, or just get rid of them, one or the other. Because we don't want this page requiring anything. This is just kind of a tool box that we pull in when we want to use it. We
Okay.
want all of the resources that this page will need to be coming into our controllers.
Okay.
Look at line 22. You've built this perfectly.
Oh. Okay.
Line 22 is absolutely perfect. So now go back to your controller and in Get Categories, what did you say, lines 22 through 27. Go ahead and get rid of them.
Okay.
Okay, so you've made the call to your categories. You now have the name and the ID in there. And now, how do we call a function?
Oh, I was doing this earlier. Just we write the name of the function and then pass the variable, in this case, categories, into it.
Perfect. And when it sends back the HTML string, what are we going to capture and store it in?
Another variable.
And what's the variable that we have been using for our navigation bar?
Nav list.
Perfect. So back in your controller, declare nav list. And then call your function. Actually, whenever it gives you those little pop-ups, just hit enter. And then semicolon at the end. And there it is. You've done it.
Oh, that should work. Okay.
Because
Okay.
now, rather than building that entire navigation bar in every controller,
Mm-hmm.
all we have to do in the controller is call it out of our helper function.
Okay, so I should probably go into my other controllers and change it then.
And do this exact same thing.
Okay, great. Okay, that's the only question I had, actually, so.
And what that also means is that if we ever have to add or change our navigation function, we only have to do it once
Change it once, right?
in that helper functions page, and it now reflects all of those changes in every controller and thus on every view.
Right. Makes sense.
So
Right, thank you.
does that help?
Yeah, no, I was just a little confused about making sure I was passing the right thing into it and like making sure this variable was in scope in the other file. And I was a little confused about how in the discussion board you said, oh, you're not changing anything in the view. And anyways, now it makes sense to me, so.
Right, because the Echo nav list already exists in your
Right.
view.
Right. Yep, makes sense now.
Good. Glad to hear that.
Mhm.
Daniela, more questions, or have we addressed everything that you had?
Maybe I have one more question about the stickiness of the form
All right.
and how the code that we use in the input, in one of the input works. So I did the reading, but yeah, I guess I just want to understand why we're putting that code there. I understand is that so it just stays like that, and the user doesn't have to input the first name and last name and email address again, right?
Right.
So, well, yeah, I guess it makes sense now that I explained
That
it.
really is the simple answer.
Right.
You know, on the login form, it's not a big deal. There's only 2 inputs.
Okay.
The registration form, it's a little bigger. It's 4 inputs.
Right.
But our add new product form
Mm.
is now 13 inputs.
Yes.
And the apply to go to BYU Idaho form, you know, is 70 or 80 inputs.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that on the login form, we don't do it right. We have to fill out the whole form again. Not a big deal. But
Hmm.
if you start getting those forms bigger and bigger and bigger, if you made a mistake and you had to start over from scratch every time, people would just go, you know, shoot themselves because they wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so that's the why. We're trying to make it nicer for the end user so that when they make the mistake, we make them fix it, but we don't punish them by making them redo the entire thing.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's my question. I'll work probably with Janae tomorrow, right, Janae?
Yep.
So we can, yeah, so I can start with the enhancement. But yeah, those are the questions I have about the activities, and it makes sense so far. So thank you.
Good. Well, you're welcome.
So I actually did those or changed that code out to call the function in my other controllers, and now I have a fatal error that says the calling did not, there's a stack trace, not exactly sure what it's saying, but.
And the other controllers are also requiring the functions page?
Nope, that's where I messed up. Thanks.
And that's fine. You know, the rule is pretty simple, and that is you got to have something before you can use it.
Right.
So if we want to use the functions page, we have to require it so that it's available.
Right.
Oh, and just, I guess one thing, if Janae, do you have something else, Janae?
No, I don't think so.
So when I submit the form for the login view, I only see a white page, a blank page.
Yep.
That's what I want, right?
Well, it's not what you really want.
For now.
But right now, the case statement that you have doesn't do anything.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's expected behavior right now.
Okay.
Once we build the rest of that process, then, and this is next week, by the way, then we expect the user to actually log in.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so I talked to you about submitting late assignments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could I, now that I have more code, is it still good to submit it under that week and just
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to strip all of that out and submit it as it was then. Just submit it as it is now.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome, Danielle. It looks like Janae has already left us.
Yes.
So if you don't have anything else, I'll probably go ahead and stop the recording and end the meeting.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.